Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to Live on the Lawn. Hey, I am so happy that you decided to tune in. This is our first episode, and it is my biggest honor to have you here. My name is Jeremy Haynes, and I'm going to be your host. And I encourage you for the next couple of minutes to pull up a chair, tune out all distractions, and let's have a conversation. For those who are listening, you're probably like, Live on the Lawn. That is such an interesting name for a podcast. And maybe you're watching this right now and you're like, why is this guy sitting on turf? What is this about? Well, the whole theme of this podcast is simply this: the grass isn't greener on the other side. It is greener where you water it. And so I want to explore this thought with you, and dive into it. And so I'll just start off by saying, for me, I was never planning on having a podcast. That was never something that I wanted to do. I actually feel like a lot of people have podcasts, and I'm just like, I feel like this is so oversaturated. Like, this is just not it. And it's funny because one of my good friends, Jalen, if you're watching this, love you, my guy. He had a podcast, and I hopped on his podcast, and we had such an incredible conversation that was raw, it was honest, and it was vulnerable. And from that conversation, there were so many people that reached out to me and was like, bro, start a podcast. Like, I want to hear about your life. I want to know what you think about certain topics and whatnot. And so this idea came to me about just creating a space for vulnerability, creating a space where we can talk about what's going on in our lives, my life and your life included. And it made me really do some soul searching about just things that have transpired, things that I maybe traumas in my life that maybe I haven't addressed, or just conversations with friends. And I'm like, that'd be so cool to create a safe space where people can come and talk about things that are on their mind, talk about things that are on their heart. And so this is the theme, and you're here, you made it. And so my encouragement is just for you to come along this journey with me. And hopefully, I hope that as I'm discovering things about myself, you discover things about yourself, and we can just grow together. And so that is my hope for this episode. And I think it also kind of came from this thought process, right? So I talked to a lot of people. I used to work retail, and when you work retail, you see a lot of people on the daily, all the time. You see all kinds of people from different walks of life, different backgrounds, religions, cultures, everything you could possibly think of. And so I remember I'm working and I'm talking to people, and I'm like, hey, how are you doing? How are you doing? And everyone's telling me they're doing good. And at first, this didn't bother me because that's normal, right? Everyone's always doing good. At least that's what we're told. And so I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And I remember one day, after talking to so many people, they would tell me that they were doing good, but it was like their words didn't align with their countenance. So they would say they were doing good, but there was something about maybe their face, or there was a way how they carried themselves. I'm like, something's going on here. And I finally got to the point of just realizing, after seeing thousands of people, I'm like, there's no way that everyone is doing good. Now, I don't know, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm messed up. Maybe I'm the weird one. But I know I have had days, weeks, and sometimes years where life has not felt like it is in my favor, where situations have felt like they are going to the wayside, where friends have left my life, and relationships have fallen through, and job opportunities haven't necessarily been where I wanted them to be, or maybe I have not felt innately like a good person. And so for me to walk around saying that I'm always good just didn't seem right. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to be honest. I think we hear that phrase, that the truth will set you free. And that's true, but it's not just the truth that will set you free. It's the truth that you know and apply that will set you free. Because I can know that something's bad for me. That's the truth. And I can still go in that direction. And I don't end up becoming free. I end up becoming more bound. And so I just decided to be like, you know what? I'm just going to be honest. And I remember one particular time I'm working and I'm just folding these like stretchy pants. And this guy walks in and he's asking me questions about the pants. And I'm just like, yeah, man, like before we get into that, like, how are you? And he's like, yeah, I'm good, man. And he's like, how are you? And I looked him in his eyes and I was like, to be honest, life has been really hard recently. I've been having some ups and downs with some friendships, and it's just been, if I'm honest, it's like the last place I want to be. But I'm happy to be here because I get to be here. And the people that I'm around, the people that I work with, they're amazing, and they call the best out of me and I call the best out of them. And he just looked at me and he was like, what? And then he was like, well, now that I think about it, like, things have been kind of hard for me too. And he started telling me how he was like a single dad and he had this daughter, and how things were difficult with just his divorce with his partner. And in that moment, I sat there and I was like, wait a second. Is it that everyone is doing really good? Or is it that we're all just really good actors? Like, it's not that we're really good, we're just really good at acting. And that blew my mind, because here I see this man that's in front of me that wants to be vulnerable, that wants to share about what's going on in his life and going on in his heart, but he doesn't see anyone jumping out into the pool of vulnerability. And so he's staying there, just kind of afraid to dip his toes into the water, when in actuality, that's all he craves. And so it hit me and I was like, no, like, I'm going to start being more honest. And so I do this thing now whenever I go to a grocery store and I talk to people and I'll say like, hey, how are you doing? Like, oh, I'm good. I'm like, okay, that's great. I'm like, but like, not that I don't believe you, but like, how are you really doing? Before I ask for a product, before I ask for what aisle the cereal's on, I want to know what's going on in your life. And now I'm talking to you. I want to know what's actually going on in your life. Wherever you are, whatever you're going through, like right now, I'm giving you permission to be honest about the things that you're dealing with, the struggles you don't talk about, the things that you feel too nervous to share because you feel like people will judge you, but you feel like also if you release those concerns and anxieties and fears and secrets that you'd be free, but you're holding on to it because you're afraid. I give you permission right now to be completely honest. Whatever the secrets are, whatever the scars are, whatever the stories that you've never shared, let's talk about it. And so my question to you is, how are you really doing? No filter, no facade, no reaction, just honesty. And why is this important? This is important because we live in a day and age where we put filters on everything. Put filters on our feelings. Put filters on our fears. Put filters on our faith. And we tell everyone that the grass looks greener on our side. We tell everyone, oh yeah, like everything's okay. We curate our courage by saying, this is the best parts of me, and this looks like the most courageous parts of me. But in actuality, while we curate our courage, we feed our insecurity. And the beast continues to grow and its appetite never lessens. And so my question is, how are you? Think on it. You don't have to answer it right now. We have a couple more minutes. By the end of this podcast, I want to know. And so whether that's you dropping a comment, whether it's you sending me a DM, I want to know how you're really doing. And so my thought is, let's not live bound to these burdens because we never address them. I want to be real with you. I want to be open with you. I want to tell you what's going on in my life. And I want you to feel comfortable with sharing that with me. And so in this generation where we value appearance over authenticity, let's flip the script. Because the problem with appearance over authenticity is simply this. you will show someone the best sides of you, while the parts of you that are bleeding and hurting that actually need to be healed are the things that are actually decaying and growing worse and growing worse. And then you're stuck with this duality, because the appearance that you show creates depression, because you curate this person that's never real. And so you show everyone this side. Maybe it's the side of you that's always funny. Maybe it's the side of you that always is wearing great clothes. Maybe it's the side of you you always have to buy something, or you always have to be the person with money. You always have to be the person with the answer, when in actuality it feels like your life is in a downspin. Like it's in a downturn. It's just going down and down and down. And so that's what causes depression, because you curate this version of yourself, and yet you know that version of yourself isn't real. And then you end up having anxiety because you have to keep up with someone you've actually never been introduced to. Everyone else knows this person, and yet you don't, which is scary because you're playing a role. Like if you kept playing this role, like Leonardo DiCaprio would have nothing on you. Like you should get an Oscar. Like that's how some of us live. And then we end up getting caught in comparison, looking at other people's life and thinking, oh, they have it better. No, they don't. We just have it different. And so my question is, if the grass isn't green on the other side and it's truly greener where you water it, what are you watering? Do you water people's praise, people's affirmation? Because if they can praise you and that's where you get your water, they can also take your water away and that's where you'll wither. Do you value friendships that make you feel like you belong, but they're actually toxic? So you see sprouts, you see you're like, oh, well, like, look at my life. It's green and I'm sprouting. But the problem is that if it's toxic, just because it's green doesn't mean it's good. And just because it grows fast doesn't mean it's healthy. And a lot of times in my life, the friendships that have been hard to leave are the ones that I know I should leave, but I stay because I care about that person and I hope they care about me, because if they do care about me, it validates that I'm good enough. Yeah, I don't have a problem being honest, because that truth is going to set us free. And if they leave, it's like, oh man, it's like this confirmation bias that I had, like, oh man, like maybe I'm not worthy of love. Have you felt that? Have you felt that? Has that happened to you? And I just want to just kind of pause on this thought. Like, I want you to know something, that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You have been made with purpose, crafted with intention. There's no one on this planet that is like you. And so even through the ups and the downs and the highs and the lows that you are encountering right now in your life, I need you to know that your life is worth living because you're the only one that can live it. No one can do what you can do. You're not replaceable. You're a one-of-one art piece. Your DNA is a matrix of miracles. And if you never see that, then you will live your life believing that you are a mistake, when in actuality, you are a miracle. You're probably like, this is a lot. This is deep. But I think it's needed. I think healing is not as far as we think it is. I think growth is not as far as we think it is. I think it requires us sitting with ourselves and processing the pain, detangling the damage, and finding out Why do I feel like I need to be someone that I am not? Why do I feel like I need to become someone that I am not? And as you're on this process of vulnerability, which I think is so important, the biggest key to your vulnerability is going to be authenticity. You have to be open, you have to be honest, and you have to be 110% yourself. Because the world is waiting for you to be you. There are people that want to relate to your story. There are people that will be able to grow from your story, but you can't grow from a story never shared. Because that's a whisper, and this world is looking for a voice, and you have to use yours. And that comes from you not being perfect, but making progress, taking steps, being honest, being accountable, and realizing that you have something worth showing and saying and telling, right? And so, yeah, what are you watering? What do you water? And I think something that's important, look outside your window and realize that the world outside your window is waiting for you. Now, the problem is that we're too busy looking at our windows, too busy looking at our screens, looking at these phones, and we think that this is actually reality. We think that this is actually real. And the sad truth is that it isn't. But the happy truth is that you're real. And I wonder what would happen if we didn't hide behind screens. I wonder what would happen if we would heal when we choose to be real. And I'm not talking about the app. I'm talking about you. I'll share a story from my life. I was having a conversation with a friend a couple of days ago. And we were catching up. And he was just kind of asking me like, oh, like, what's up? What's going on in your life? It's so funny. This guy and I, this is my boy. This is my dog. And when we talk, it's funny, we'll go like a period of time without talking. We just pick back up from where we left off. And he's like asking me how I'm doing. I'm just being completely open, brutally open, telling him what's been going on. And he's like, yo, that's crazy. And it opened up a whole conversation where he started telling me what was going on in his life. And we just were able to connect on a different level. I'm like, yo, we're going through some of the same struggles. We're having some of the same fears. We're having some of the same victories. We're all in this together. So here's another question. What weeds are you not willing to get rid of because to everyone else they look good, but to you, you know they're poisonous? What are habits in your life that you see, that you look at and you say, I thought I had this under control? Like, I really want us to be honest with ourselves. You might say this is a habit, and maybe it's not a habit. Maybe it's an addiction. Maybe it's something you've tried to quit, and you don't feel like you can. You don't feel like you're able to. And now it starts affecting your identity. It starts affecting your worth. It starts making you feel like you're a fraud. What are those weeds that in this year, in 2025, you're saying, hey, listen, I want to get rid of? I want to work towards freedom, finding myself. And will you be willing to remove anything that poses a threat to your value? I think when you answer that question, you ask that question and answer it, you will find that you're not as far away from the you want to become. Because, this is cool thought. I talk to people and like, oh man, I'm just anxious. Or yeah, I'm just depressed. Or, oh yeah, I can't stop doing this. And I'm like, okay, you say you can't stop doing this, but you realize there was a time when you started doing this. So if you started doing this, that means there was a time where you were not this. You've only assumed the identity because time has cemented itself within your heart saying, this is now who you are because this is what you do. I think we need to become more focused on being than doing, and then the things that we do will one day have no effect on the person we've become. If my value is in what I do, that's me hiding behind an identity. That's me hiding behind this belief that if I do enough, I'll be loved. If I say the right things, I'll be loved. They'll see me. They'll believe in me. That's doing. But there's so much importance in being. And not trying to be someone that you're not, but actually being who you really are. Okay. Do you know that everything has been created for a purpose? Every single thing on this planet has been created for a purpose. So for example, I have a water cup in my hand. For all you who are listening, I'm about to take some water because it's just H2O is amazing. So good. This is for water, right? This was made with the intention for water. Now imagine if you saw me take this and I picked this up and I began to play baseball with it, or I began to try to, let's say I began to try to play drums with this, right? Use it as a drumstick. You would look at me like I was crazy because that this is not what this is designed for. You'd be like, what are you doing? That does not make any sense. And isn't it crazy that you would look at me and say, Jeremy, why are you doing that to this thing? You're using it outside of its purpose, and yet we do that all the time. We're trying to be someone that we're not, so we can get value, but we don't realize that the value is actually in us being who we were meant to be and who we were created to be. Now, my personal belief in life and what I've seen, and I can't wait to talk to y'all about just my life and things that I've experienced, but my faith is a big part of my life. And I believe that God creates everyone for a reason, a purpose, a season, an intent, that there's purpose in it all. Now, guess what? If you don't believe that, that's totally cool. I tell people you don't have to believe to receive. So just follow me for a second. We're all on this journey with me. And if you're on your journey of faith, trying to figure out what that looks like, I would love to know what that looks like. And I would love to have conversations with you about your belief, how you got there, your journey, all of that. So like I said, this is a safe space and open space, right? But for me, my faith is super important to me. And I believe that God creates everyone with a purpose, that God creates everyone with an intent, that there's a reason, right? So when someone creates a hammer, you create that, you use that hammer for a purpose. If you saw someone using a hammer to paint a wall, you'd be like, what are you doing? Yeah, they both, a hammer can fix a wall, but it's not meant to paint a wall. And so we end up abusing ourselves because we don't know why we're here and we don't know who we are here. We lack identity because we try to find it in other people, and then we try to find that value from that false identity and doing things we were never meant to do, which leaves us with brokenness and pain. What I'm saying is that we end up abusing ourselves. I say the word abuse because abuse simply means abnormal use. And where the purpose of a thing is unknown, abuse will occur. Where the purpose of a thing is unknown, abuse is inevitable. So my question to you is, do you know who you are? Do you know why you're here? And do you know who you are here? Because if you do not know those things, you will live your life being a hammer when you're supposed to be a butter knife. Now, you know how ridiculous you would look trying to spread butter with a hammer? I'd be like, you are crazy. And we do that every single day of our lives. The only way you can find who you are and what you're meant to do, just like anything that's been made by a creator, is by consulting the person that created you and getting context for the purpose. Right? That's the only way you can know. And so for me, I encourage you, even for me, that's been huge for me in my life. Realizing that my gift might not be being like an adrenaline junkie doing all, like, I love that. I'll cliff jump with you. I might not be the first person to jump, but I'll get there. Right? Like, that might not be my gift. My gift might not be what your gift is, and your gift might not be what mine is, but that doesn't make it of any lesser value. It just means that it's different. And when I know why I've been created and why I've been placed here, I can live in identity. And the cool thing about identity, when you live in identity, then you walk in authority. And when you walk in authority, you're not afraid of being authentic, because you can actually show who you really are. Because you're like, no, I know this is who I am. It's like a lot of people, they live outside of it and they don't have confidence and they're confused. It's like if I was to ask you, hey, like, is this restaurant really good? And you're like, oh, it's the best restaurant I've ever had. I'm like, oh, amazing. What's good to order? Oh, I think you should order, like, I love Chinese food, so we just gonna go there. Like, I think you should order like the orange chicken, and I think you should order like the beef broccoli, because I heard it was good. I'm like, whoa, Brody, slow down. You heard it was good. I thought you said that it was, like, this place is gas. Oh, well, yeah, it is. But have you eaten there? I had a friend of a friend of a friend of their friend, twice removed, to the third power, that ate there. I'd be like, what? Because you showed me you had this appearance of confidence, but because you did not have experience, you lack confidence. So don't have an appearance of knowing that, or thinking that you know who you are. Have an experience of knowing who you are. And that all comes from this process that I like to call self-discovery. And self-discovery begins oftentimes in stillness. That's like one of my biggest takeaways from last year. Self-discovery starts with stillness and not running from everything and running to go water things that do not matter. A lot of us are watering droughts. We're watering deserts, and we're trying to understand why we feel depleted, because you're putting your water in a desert when you should be putting water in your destiny. You should be investing water in yourself. You should be investing time, energy, and effort into the things that you love and to the things that bother you, to figure out, why does this bother you, so you can heal. Right? Because when you do heal, when you take all that water, you become something beautiful in a world that is full of deserts and that is full of dryness and is full of facades, and you become something beautiful. Do you know what you become? You become an oasis. And why is this important? Because an oasis is simply a fertile spot in the desert that is made fertile because of the presence of water. Are you hearing me right now? This conversation that we're having right now is an invitation to an oasis. I don't know what areas of your life might seem dead or dry or damaged, but you are desperately needing water. You are desperately dehydrated, and you are searching for water for your soul. You're searching for water for your mind. You want restoration in your mind. You want healing in your heart. You want all these things to change and happen. Now, I'm not saying that I have every answer. Right? I remember when I worked retail and they'd ask me, Jeremy, what do we do? And crazy stuff was happening. I'm like the manager on duty. And I'm just like, listen, I don't know the answer right now, but we can find it together. And that's my same approach. The things that I know, the things that I've experienced. And I want to just take you to where I found water. I want to show you what's helped me in my life. Because I'd be so remiss if I didn't. I'd be so remiss if I didn't talk about the peace that I have. I'd be so remiss if I didn't talk about the joy that I have. I'd be so remiss if I didn't talk about the love that I've found. I'd be so remiss if I've not talked about the healing that has helped me through traumas and fears and pains and some of the most difficult situations of my life. I'd be so remiss to tell you that the grass is greener on my side and I don't show you where I got the water from. And my grass isn't just green, it's hydrated. It's not like it just looks better than everyone else's. No, I'm just like, hey, I want to do this work. Let's do the work. And so I hope this gives you some context about what this podcast is and what this podcast means to me and what I hope it will mean to you. I hope that in the next coming episodes that you'll be able to pull up a chair and grab a notebook and a pen, and let this be a journey of self-reflection. Let this be an opportunity for you to sit back and think about what's happened in your week, what's happened in your month, what's happened in the years in the past, and plan for the future as well. But I want to let you know that you're not alone in this journey. You're not alone in these difficult times. You're not alone. If you're weary, if you're tired, if you're exhausted of keeping a smile on your face that's not connected to your reality, then I invite you to come. I invite you to bring a friend. I invite you to tell someone about it. And realize that when you do, when you're honest, when you're open, when you choose to water what's in front of you, you'd be surprised to see how much it grows. And so this right here is my personal invitation to tell you, although we're live from the lawn, I'm inviting you to live on the lawn. I'm inviting you to be open. I'm inviting you to be honest. I'm inviting you to be transparent. I'm inviting you to come with me on this quest. Come with me on this search to find the life that you've always wanted, but you've never been able to access on your own. And it's not going to be full of smiles all the time. It's going to be hard. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be difficult, but it's going to be worth it because nothing good comes without a fight. And you're not alone in that fight. So I hope you've enjoyed this brief overview of what this podcast is going to be. We're going to be dropping episodes weekly. And so I'm excited for you to share with me things you want to talk about, whether it's dropping a comment on this video or sending me a DM on our page. Like, I want to know what's going on in your life. I want to know if you want to talk about trauma, if you want to talk about truth, you want to talk about faith, you want to talk about relationships, you want to talk about health and fitness, whatever it is, whatever we can do to move forward towards well-being. And let me just say something about well-being real quick. Well-being is the state of being well. You're a being, but are you a well-being? Are you a whole being? I don't want you to just think that well-being is just something that like that just happens. No, that's who you're meant to be. You're meant to be a well-being. That is simply just a being made well. And so I invite you, as we all figure this out and we all heal together and we all are vulnerable and we're all open, so we can actually go from saying I am good to actually being good. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. I'm so excited that you decided to pull up a chair, listen. hopefully talk. I want to hear what y'all are thinking, and I'm excited for y'all to be here. But yeah, until next time, remember that the grass isn't greener on the other side. It's greener where you water it. So let's water it together. I'm going to see y'all next time. Stay tuned, and I love you all.